Welcome to the Curiosity and Co podcast, conversations for the incurably curious. In a world racing towards fast paced answers, at Curiosity and Co, we slow down to explore questions that shape our inner lives and collective realities. This is a place for thinkers, readers, and the wanderers of the mind, those who find wonder in ideas and meaning in complexity. Hosted by a mind drawn to philosophy, psychology, and the hidden logic of the world, each episode offers a reflective dive into philosophy, science, psychology, and how we think, live, and relate to the world. Whether drawing from the timeless thinkers or modern scientific insights, the podcast invites you to stretch your perspective and see the familiar in unfamiliar ways. Tune in for the ideas, stay for the insight. Because curiosity isn't just a trait, it's a worldview. The Guardian Within: How Fear Keeps Us Alive. Welcome to the Curiosity and Co podcast. I'm your host, and today we are diving deep into one of humanity's most ancient and powerful companions: fear. Now, before you think about clicking away because you're afraid of being afraid, stick with me. Because what if I told you that fear isn't your enemy? What if fear is actually the reason you are alive today? The reason our species survived when countless others did not. Picture this: you're walking down a dark alley late at night. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense, your sense sharpen. Every shadow becomes a potential threat, every sound amplified. Most people call this anxiety. Scientists call this a miracle of evolution that took millions of years to perfect. Chapter 1: The Ancient Guardian. To understand fear, we need to travel back, way back, to when our ancestors faced very real, very hungry predators. Fear wasn't a luxury then, it was a life or death operating system. But here's what is fascinating: fear operates faster than conscious thought. Dread requires only a tenth of a second to take root, according to Harvard Medicine magazine. That's faster than you can blink. While you're still processing what you're looking at, your brain has already initiated a full body alarm system. Imagine our early human ancestor. Let's call her Maya. She is gathering berries when she hears a rustle in the bushes. She doesn't stop to analyze the sound, debate its source, or consider her options. A threat stimulus, such as the sight of a predator, triggers a fear response in the amygdala, which activates areas involved in preparation for the motor functions involved in fight or flight. It also triggers a release of stress hormones and sympathetic nervous system. Maya's body floods with adrenaline. Her heart pounds, pumping blood to her major muscle groups. Her pupils dilate to let in more light. Her breathing becomes shallow and rapid, maximizing oxygen intake. Her non essential systems, digestion, immune response, even higher level thinking, temporarily shut down. Every resource is redirected to one goal: survival. Maya runs. The rustle was indeed a leopard, but she is already 50 yards away before her conscious mind even registered the threat. Fear saved Maya's life, and because Maya survived, she passed on those same fear responses to her children, and they to theirs, all the way down to you. Chapter 2: The Architecture of Terror. Let's zoom in on the star of our survival story: the amygdala. This almond shaped structure, no bigger than your thumbnail, sits deep in your brain's temporal lobe, and it's arguably the most important real estate in your skull when it comes to staying alive. Neuroscientists have been studying the formation of fear memories in the emotional hub of the brain, the amygdala, and think they have a mechanism. Recent research consistent with neuroscience has revealed something remarkable. It undergoes synaptic plasticity during conditioning, and lesions to it impair both learning and expression of conditioned responses. Think of the amygdala as your brain's security system, but not just any security system. This is a system so sophisticated it makes the most advanced AI look like a pocket calculator. It processes incoming sensory information and cross references it against a vast database of potential threats, all in milliseconds. But here is where it gets philosophically interesting. The amygdala doesn't distinguish between real and imagined threats. It responds to the shadow under your bed the same way it would respond to an actual intruder. This isn't an error, it's a built in feature. Better to run from a thousand shadows than ignore the one real predator. This raises a profound question that philosophers have grappled with for centuries. What is the nature of our relationship with uncertainty? Fear, at its core, is our response to the unknown. French philosopher Jean Paul Sartre argued that this anxiety in the face of uncertainty isn't a weakness, it's a proof of our freedom, our ability to choose our response to an unpredictable world. Chapter 3: The Laboratory of Fear. Now, let us step into one of the psychology's most infamous experiments. Though I must warn you, what we are about to discuss would not pass ethical standards today. February 1920, Johns Hopkins University. A little 9-month-old infant known to the history as Little Albert is about to become the center of an experiment that would reshape our understanding of fear. The Little Albert experiment by Watson and Rayner tested whether an infant could be classically conditioned to fear a neutral stimulus. The subject of the experiment, a 9-month-old infant named Albert B., was initially exposed to a white rat, to which he showed no fear. Initially, Albert was curious about the rat, reaching out to touch it. But then Watson introduced a new element. Every time Albert reached for the rat, Watson would strike a steel bar with a hammer, creating a loud, startling noise behind Albert's head. After just 7 pairings across 2 conditioning sessions, Albert developed a fear response to the rat alone, crying and attempting to crawl away whenever it was presented, even without the accompanying noise. But the experiment revealed something even more disturbing. Albert's fear didn't stay confined to the rat. He began showing fear responses to anything white and furry: a rabbit, a dog, even a Santa Claus mask with a white beard. This phenomena, called stimulus generalization, showed how fear can spread from one source to related stimuli. The ethical implications are staggering. Watson essentially traumatized an infant for scientific knowledge. The Little Albert experiment, which made the case that fears and phobias are conditioned emotional reactions, was published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology. It would become one of the most cited studies in the field of psychology. But from purely scientific perspective, the experiment revealed something crucial. Fear is learnable, and if it's learnable, it is also potentially unlearnable. Chapter 4: When the Guardian Becomes the Prison. Here is where our story takes a darker turn. The same system that kept Maya alive in the savannah can become a prison in modern life. When the amygdala that evolved to spot leopards starts treating job interviews, public speaking, or even text messages as mortal threats, we have a problem. Recent research has shown us something fascinating about fear in the modern context. A new UC Davis study reveals new cell types in the amygdala. The findings may suggest new ways to treat anxiety. What we are learning is that our ancient fear system is still operating on software designed for a world that no longer exists. Consider this: your ancestors might encounter a life threatening situation once a week, maybe once a month, but modern life can trigger your flight or fight response dozens of times per day. Traffic jams, work deadlines, social media notifications, news alerts, each one potentially activating the same neural pathways that once helped humans escape from predators. Philosopher Kierkegaard wrote extensively about anxiety, distinguishing it from fear. Fear, he argued, has an object: the tiger, the cliff, the storm. Anxiety, on the other hand, is fear without an object: the dizziness of freedom when facing the abyss of infinite possibility. Modern life, it seems, has created a world where we are constantly experiencing Kierkegaard's anxiety, fear of everything and nothing simultaneously. Chapter 5: The Paradox of Fearlessness. What would happen if we could eliminate fear entirely? It sounds appealing, doesn't it? No more anxiety, no more phobias, or more lying awake at 3 a.m. worrying about everything and nothing. But science has shown us exactly what fearlessness looks like, and it's not what you would expect. Clinical observations suggest that humans with amygdala damage have abnormal fear reactions and a reduced experience of fear. These individuals, rather than being liberated by their fearlessness, often struggle to navigate social situations and make poor decisions about risk. One famous case study involves a woman known as SM who had bilateral amygdala damage due to a rare genetic condition. SM couldn't experience fear in the traditional sense. She would approach dangerous situations that most people would instinctively avoid. She would strike up conversations with threatening strangers, handle venomous snakes without hesitation, and show no fear response to horror movies or haunted houses. But SM's fearlessness wasn't a superpower, it was a disability. She frequently found herself in dangerous situations precisely because she lacked the protective instincts that fear provides. Her condition revealed that fear isn't just about avoiding danger, it is about social navigation, decision making, and understanding the emotional states of others. Chapter 6: The Evolution of Courage. This brings us to one of the most beautiful paradoxes of human experience. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it is action in the presence of fear. Recent neuroscience research is revealing something remarkable about how we can work with rather than against our fear responses. Innate fear like responses are thought to involve the amygdala, but here a tetrasynaptic pathway is identified that mediates odor evoked innate fear in mice. What this research suggests is that fear processing is more complex and nuanced than we previously understood. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood something profound about fear. They did not seek to eliminate it, but to transform their relationship with it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Modern cognitive behavioral therapy echoes this ancient wisdom. We cannot control whether we feel fear, but we can influence how we respond to it. The goal is not fearlessness, it is fear literacy. Think about a professional rock climber. They feel the same physiological fear response you would if you looked down from a 1,000-foot cliff. The difference is in their relationship with that fear. They have learned to interpret the adrenaline not as a signal to flee, but as a heightening of awareness that makes them more, not less, capable. Chapter 7: The Social Architecture of Fear. Fear is not just personal, it's fundamentally social. We learn what to fear by watching others, and we communicate fear through expression, posture, and voice in ways that are understood across all human cultures. Consider the phenomena of mass hysteria or panic. When one person in a crowd starts running in fear, others follow, often without even knowing what they are running from. This is not stupidity. It is an evolved survival mechanism. If another human is afraid, there might be a good reason for it. But this same mechanism can be exploited. Political movements, advertisers, and media outlets understand that fear spreads faster than reason. The same neural pathways that once helped human groups coordinate their response to actual threats can now be triggered by carefully crafted messages about abstract or distant dangers. The philosopher Hannah Arendt wrote about the banality of evil, but perhaps we should also consider the banality of fear, how ordinary, everyday mechanisms of survival can be co opted to create extraordinary suffering when deployed at scale. Yet, understanding this gives us power. When we recognize how fear spreads and why we are susceptible to it, we can make more conscious choices about which fears deserve our attention and which are manufactured distractions. Chapter 8: The Future of Fear. So, where does this leave us? We are living in an unprecedented time in human history. For the first time, most humans in developed countries do not face regular physical threats to their survival. Yet, anxiety disorders are at an all time high. Tremendous progress has been made in basic neuroscience in recent decades. One area that has been especially successful is research on how the brain detects and responds to threats. We are developing new therapies, new understandings, new ways to work with our ancient fear systems. Some researchers are exploring virtual reality therapy, where people can safely encounter their fears in controlled environments. Others are investigating how psychedelics might temporarily disable fear responses, allowing people to process traumatic memories without the overwhelming emotional charge. But perhaps the most promising approach is also the simplest: education. When we understand fear, what it is, why it exists, how it functions, we can develop a more mature relationship with it. Fear will always be with us because uncertainty will always be with us. The future is fundamentally unknowable, and consciousness itself might be defined by our awareness of this uncertainty. But again, this is not an error, it is a built in feature. Chapter 9: Embracing the Guardian. Let me leave you with a thought experiment. Imagine you could take a pill that would eliminate fear from your life completely. No more anxiety, no more worry, no more lying awake at night thinking about everything that could go wrong. Would you take it? I think most of us, if we are honest, would hesitate because somewhere deep down we understand that fear is not just about survival, it is about caring. We fear losing the things and people we love. We fear failure because we care about success. We fear death because we value life. In other words, fear is the shadow cast by love, hope, and meaning. To eliminate one would be to diminish the others. The ancient guardian that lives within your amygdala is not your enemy. It is the part of you that has never stopped caring whether you make it through another day. It has been working tirelessly for millions of years, through countless generations, to deliver you safely to this moment. Your fear is not a failure of courage. It is proof that you are alive, aware, and engaged with an uncertain world. It is the price we pay for consciousness, and perhaps it is worth it. The next time you feel afraid, try this. Instead of fighting the fear or letting it overwhelm you, pause, and acknowledge it. Thank your ancient guardian for trying to protect you. Then ask yourself, what would I do if I were brave? The answer to that question and your willingness to act on it might just be the difference between surviving and truly living. Thank you for walking with me through this exploration of fear. This is the Curiosity and Co podcast. I invite you to stay connected for more conversations that touch what truly matters. If today's episode spoke to you, I'd like to hear your reflections. Share them in the comments below or reach out through the details in the description. And until we meet again, may you carry not just the weight of your fears, but also the light of the courage that guides you forward. This is the Curiosity and Co podcast. I'm your host, and I will see you around. Ciao.